The children of Israel in the wilderness, they have left Egypt. They have left the confines of Egypt. They've left the Pharaoh. They were working for food. That's what slavery will work for food. They were working for food without commerce or money. They were working for food. And Pharaoh was supplying everything that they needed. Then they got out in the wilderness and God destroyed Pharaoh in the Red Sea. And even though he was a bad provider, he was still a provider. And now they lost their sense of provision in the absence of Pharaoh. Now God must show them that I will not take out of your life anything that I will not replace. And if I'm going to replace it, I will either, catch this, I will either replace it or become it. So he says, when I took your Pharaoh out of your life, I took over the responsibilities of making sure that you didn't suffer lack in his absence. And I will supply all of your needs according to my riches in glory by Christ Jesus. So God said, don't worry about Pharaoh dying. Don't mourn about that. Don't worry about it. I got you covered. I will supply all of your needs. So God starts sending manna down from heaven to feed them because they hadn't even learned how to handle commerce or money. 400 years of being a slave will destroy your economic intelligence. So they don't know anything about money. They don't know anything about investments. They don't know anything about commerce. They don't know anything about the future. They were working for food. So God says, I tell you what, you walk, I'll feed. So they started walking, and as they were walking, God started feeding. And the manna started coming down from heaven to supply their needs. Here's the other thing I want you to know. When God sent the answer, it didn't look like food. So many times when God answers your prayers, they don't look like answers. Because the answer comes in a shape that is contrary to what you imagine. So you think that God hasn't answered you, but he has answered you, but he didn't answer you in the shape that you had imagined it. Oh, I wish I had time. Throughout the Bible, whenever God sent an answer, it was always unrecognizable. They didn't understand what it was. They didn't understand who Joseph was because it wasn't what they had in mind. They didn't understand who Jesus was because he wasn't what they had in mind. They didn't understand who the manna was because it wasn't what they had in mind. The disciples were waiting for Jesus on the boat, but when he came walking on the water, they were scared of him because he wasn't what they had in mind. When you got down on your knees and start praying for answers and God sent the answer, many times you will walk over it because it is not what you had in mind. But it is not about what you had in mind. It is about what God had in mind for you. Oh, y'all don't hear what I'm saying? So God says, I will supply what you need. But I won't supply it because you need it. I will supply it because you're hungry for it.